Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Fishing Disabled with me, Flip Masters.
Sup, dudes and dudettes, and I am Mr. Slacker.
And together,
Wild Stallions!
No, seriously. Actually, what we're here to do today is we're doing a rebuild of a bait launcher. I had built it before, but I'm going to do a rebuild on it and see what you think.
Yep, and that's my cue. I'm going to find something else funner to do.
Okay, now that Doofus is left, we can actually get started on this. It's pretty easy to do. It's a lot of simple parts, mainly most of it is PVC pipe and stuff. So I'm going to kind of go over the parts with you real quick, and that way you can get kind of an idea of what I'm doing. Now I've already pre-built most of this because this is a rebuild of the original bait launcher, which you can see here in this picture. It wasn't that great, but we're going to rebuild it, and it should be pretty good. This is actually the launch tube, and this is 2-inch PVC with a 2-inch coupling, a reducer, and this is a 1x2 threaded adapter. And this right here will actually go into this, which this right here is just two 2-inch 90-degree elbows, a piece of 2-inch PVC pipe in the middle, along with the 2-inch reducers on the inside with the 1-inch threaded. This is actually part of the air tank. As you can see, it's a piece of 3-inch PVC. There's two types of 3-inch PVC. There's non-pressure and pressure. The non-pressure will work because you're not really going to run it over 100 psi, but I recommend getting the pressure Schedule 40 series. All of this is Schedule 40. Okay, so I have here, I've got a 3-inch, I guess you call it a coupling or adapter. That's a 3-inch reducer down to a 2-inch. So, and then there's a 2-inch reducer down to the threaded 1-inch. As you can see, just like this one right here. What you want to do is you want to get a drill bit that's just a tad bit smaller than the thread pattern on this gauge. And this is just a gauge off of like one of those, you want to fill your AC in your car with new refrigerant. It comes with a little tube, and the little tube will have a gauge on it. Well, this is the gauge off that tube, and it's perfect because it goes up to 200 psi, and I can thread it right in here using tape. It's Teflon tape, which is, as you notice, it's probably noticed that it's on every little piece. You want to Teflon tape everything. But anyway, I screw that down into the piece of PVC, 3-inch. That way it gives me an idea of what my pressure is. I don't want to go too high. This is perfect. This piece actually goes right up in between the 2-inch PVC pipe and the 3-inch as a spacer to allow it to stay together in one piece and doesn't kind of wobble around. And all this is just a little thin piece of PVC pipe of 1 1/4 inch that I melted and cut down. This piece threads into this right here, and then this piece will actually thread into this ball valve. Let me put this down here. It's just a standard 1-inch to 1-inch ball valve, PVC ball valve, and make sure it's good and tight when you get one because you want it to hold air pressure, about 90 psi, something like that. This actually is the 3-inch connector that's going to be where my legs come out, which these are my legs, just a 1-inch with a little, I believe that's just a these are 3/4. This is a 3/4 inch piece, and just another elbow, not quite a 90. You could use a 90, but this is a 30 or 60 or something like that. And and then just another 2-inch piece of 3/4 inch PVC here to connect right into there, just like that. And these are going to go on both of these legs go on each side. And this piece goes together like this. This cap right here is another piece of 3-inch PVC. This came off the original build, and I just cut it, and then I put the cap on it, and inside of the cap is just like a tire, you know, for like your car. Now I prefer to get the metal threaded one, but I didn't have that, so I went ahead and just got a regular tire one and backfilled it with glue and everything, and it works. It works well, and I never had a problem with it before. I filled that thing to 100 psi and never had a problem. But anyway, this piece goes right in like this, and all of this will butt together. Now the air will come out through the legs, into the legs, and into the body, but these legs are schedule 40 pressure, so they'll hold up to 480 psi, and you know, it works really well. So I'm not worried about that, and that just adds a little bit more air. You'll see how it goes when we get started on all of that. We're going to start getting this put together. I'm going to start taking these pieces that I kind of stuck here together apart, and I'm going to start using the primer, PVC primer, to put it together real quick. A little higher on this one. Alright, now that we've got these parts done right here, we can go ahead and start working on everything else that we've got to work on. It looks pretty good, and it works. So okay, now that I took care of that little stupid issue, God. Alright, so back to what I was doing. What we want to do is we want to make sure that it's going to hold 90 psi or 100 psi in air and not have any leaks or problems. So naturally we're going to let it sit for a little bit. You know, not that big of a deal, but you know. Oh God, he's back.
Haha! I didn't die.
Yes, we know you didn't die.
Can't you see that? You let me see it? Let me see it? Let me see it?
Yeah, if you want to see it, here. Yeah. Fine, you gotta be a prick about it. Happy now? Alright, so let me get back to what I was doing here. Anyway, so we put the glue on pretty liberally, and it's not going to be a problem, but let me go ahead and finish up the base here. Alright, so you know, watch me put the glue in there. You'll see kind of how I do it. I really slather it in there really good. That way I feel like it's good and coated. A little twist. Make sure it's good and tight. Make sure that glue gets all in there. You might get a little glue on you, but it shouldn't be that big of a deal. Alright, we're good. Okay, that's the beginning stages of right there. Alright, so what we're going to do is go ahead and frame up the rest of it and get these parts screwed on here. Okay, so now we're going to put this device on. Okay, right now it's fully open, so I'm going to close it where I know which direction, and I want it to sit like this because I want to be able to throw it backwards like this. And what I did is I actually took a mop handle, kind of like one of those little Swiffer jobs or whatever. It's just a little cheap mop. I put a bolt through it, and I cut the handle down in half, and that way I've got a little screw-in handle that screws right onto the end of this, and it's perfect. Don't have a problem. I put a screw in just to hold the piece together. Made myself a little throw handle. I believe that's a 5/16 hole. Done. So put this piece in. That's it. Perfect. Now I'll take my little handle here, unscrew that. My wing nut. You could probably just use a regular nut, but I just happen to have a wing nut, so I'm going to use it. There we go. Tilt that out just a little bit. Now, there we go. Now I got some leverage to really open that up whenever I want to. So for now, I'll unscrew that. Alright, now it's time to put the body on. She's in place. This is when this little spacer comes in. Right here. Put it right there. Let's see, I matched it up. There we go. Let's go right here with it. That look pretty straight to you. Then go right here. Doesn't really matter. Let's see what comes right there. That's too far right there. Okay. Now, you can use zip ties if you want to do that. In my case, I'm not going to use zip ties. I happen to have one of these, so I'm going to use this right here. Now we're just going to tighten this down so we feel comfortable with it. Now we got those pieces together. That's basically it in a nutshell right there. You got your valve, you got your barrel, which this barrel piece is 5 foot long exactly. And then you have your elbow, your ball valve, your spacer, and then of course your legs. Now the legs, that's the tricky part. On the legs with this one, you have to be sure you know that you're going to be able to move this around anywhere you got to go with it. Because you're going to actually permanently mount these legs because they have to hold air as well. Now, you have another way that you could possibly do this or put legs on without having to put this piece right here on here, this T. Then by all means, you know, play with it. It's your idea. You're going to use it. So this just happens to be an idea that I like, that I kind of came up with, and I'm gonna go with it. So let's put these legs on real quick. Let's go with that angle right there. And what I'm gonna do is take a pin once I got the position I want to be in, and I'm going to mark it right here and right here. Now all I got to do is line that mark up when I get ready to glue them down, and we're good to go. So let me glue this down real quick. Okay, so you can see, actually take my pen, just make a mark, and then make the mark line up right there. Now when I pull it out and put the glue on it, all I have to do is line up the mark and I'm good to go. And that's it. I'll let that set for just a second so it'll sit down. And this particular part is done. Alright guys, this is it completed right here. That's what it looks like. Okay, now that we're finished with the bait launcher, I'm actually going to show you how I make the bait bullet. Basically, it's just a bullet that's frozen out of water with your leader and your bait and everything inside of it. That way you can shoot it right out of the bait launcher. This is basically 2-inch PVC pipe with a cap on the end of it, and what I do is I actually take a bottle and I cut the top off of it, flip it upside down like this, and I put it down inside of the tube here. And what that does is that makes the shape of the bullet for you. And you put a little bit of glue on top of it, from PVC glue, and you put it down in the very bottom of it. You can't really see it down in there, but it's all the way at the very bottom, and that'll hold it in place. And the other thing that does is, what I noticed, if you don't do that, you pour the water and everything down in there, you can't get it out because the lip around this joint here, it freezes the water and then it won't come out, and that's a problem. So that's why I do that. I went ahead and just cut it, slide it down there, makes the shape of the bullet, and it slides right out, and it's perfect. So let me show you how I do that real quick. It's pretty simple. And of course, you can always put them in I got 6 of them, so you can put them in like a little, 6-pack of a beverage of your choice. You'll probably recognize this from a previous build. This was the shark leader that I made. And so I'm going to use this today. Alright, so what we do is we take the weight, it's an anchor weight or a surf weight. You open the arms just enough where it fits down inside of it. We're going to just take it and we're going to slide it down in here. Just like that. The weight itself actually becomes the tip of the bullet, the frozen bait bullet. And just leave this end here hanging out. Alright, and you take whatever you're going to use, mullet or whatever, and you're going to hook your bait on, and you're going to take it and stick it down inside of it. This is just going to be empty because we're just going to show you how this shoots and how it freezes. So I'm just going to shove it down in there with it. Okay. We'll just take that and just kind of wrap it in a coil all the way down in there. So I'm just going to make it where it just kind of barely comes out here. You'll have your bait in here, you'll have your leader in here, and then you'll have this tag end hanging out the back here. And then we're going to take them and we'll fill them up with water. And if you want to use chum, you can actually use a blender and blend up the chum inside of it and actually use that as well. That way you get a nice little slick when you're fishing out there. Shark, reds, things like that. Alright, so let's go ahead and freeze that up real quick, and that way you at least get an example of what one of them looks like. Okay, now I'm just going to fill up each of these with water. I'm only going to do 2 for right now, but the other 4 we'll actually use later on. But this is what I'm going to just fill these 2 right now. I changed to a piece of wire because I actually want to be able to pull this one out right here, and it's got wire goes down a little bit inside of it to pull it out. but that will allow this one to come out. This one doesn't have any leader or nothing in it, but this one right here will have the leader, bait, and everything. Of course, it doesn't have bait right now. I'm gonna leave about an inch on top of from the very top of the rim, so that way the water will actually, when it freezes, it'll expand a little bit. It'll actually let the ice not overflow over the edge here. And then this one's just a regular ice. There's no leader in it, so that way we can just launch that and let you get an idea. So I'll put this in the freezer and we'll be done, and then we'll check out the launch. Alright. Okay, there it is in the freezer. P.S. You better have a loving wife, because you know that's going to have bait in it and it's going to be in the freezer. Just saying. Okay guys, this is bait launcher test number 1. We'll see how this first goes. It's just going to be a blank little block of ice. Kind of broke up in my mold a little bit, so that's something I got to think about. So we'll see. Let's launch it out. 3, 2, 1. Doesn't it? Alright, so I'm going to pull this out real quick. This is my mold with my leader. Let's see if this is still good here. A little bit offside there. So basically that's it. You can see my leaders down inside of there. Normally I'd have the bait, mullet, and stuff like that. Recommend probably using a smaller leader, you know, but it's what I got right now, so let's load it up. See, I'm just going to push it down in there, and then all the way down to the bottom. Okay, this is bait launcher test number 2, and we're actually using frozen bait with the leader and everything in it. So here we go. All right, in 3, 2, 1. Look at it go. That was at 70 psi, and I'd say we probably got out about maybe about 80 to 100 yards. I'd say safely 80 yards. So normally I'm going to pump it up to about 100 psi, maybe 90 psi, and we'll actually be able to get it to go a little further than that, but that's a pretty good distance right there. So successful test. All right. Okay, I'm gonna shoot a couple little pieces that broke off the original frozen bait. So shoot those for fun. See how far they go. 3, 2, 1. That was at 35 psi. Pretty fun. All right.
I'm back.
Understanding how it works.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, you know.
You tell them about the...
Yes, we know you're back.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
No, we don't.
I don't really care. Are you gonna get to the, goodbyes or whatever?
I'm getting to that. Okay, so if you have any more
Later,
questions, feel free to leave a comment in the comments and let me know how you feel about it and everything. So let me know, like it if you liked it, dislike if you didn't like it. You know, if you need to give me a little bit more information, just leave it in the comment section and let me know what you think. And we'll see you next time.